Hello, beautiful souls. We're overdue for a teaching video, aren't we? I want to talk about why I say patriarchy is literally dying. So let's talk about it. And of course, I'm going to do that by sharing a story. And I'm not sharing this story as an excuse, but as a perspective, coming from the perspective of a white boomer. And it does come with a gentle warning because I am going to talk about corporal punishment in public education. So earlier this week, I was talking to some people who are young enough to be my own children, and one of them young enough to be my grandchild. And we were talking about children's experiences in school, and somehow that triggered a memory about something that happened to me when I was in 4th grade. And I shared how I was so excited about this outfit that I had on. It was a little skirt with little suspenders over them. And I had on my tights because it was spring and they were white and the skirt was yellow. And I had come out of the bathroom, which was on the main level, and I was heading up the stairs to my classroom. And I felt someone grab my back and start to pull on my skirt. And I could tell by the feeling that my skirt had been stuck inside my tights. So I turned around in time to see that it was my friend. And she was helping me by getting my skirt out of my tights. But at the same time I turned around, there was a teacher whose door was right by the restroom door. She was coming out of her classroom and she saw my friend touching my skirt, and the motion looked like she was lifting up or flipping my skirt as we went up the stairs. That teacher reached inside her classroom where all the teachers had hung their paddles. She grabbed her paddle, ran over to the stairs, grabbed that girl by her shoulder, turned her around, bent her over, and whacked her on her bottom 5 or 6 times. And the stairs were packed. Everybody stopped and witnessed this. And the people who had been behind me also saw this, and I tried to tell the teacher. I said she wasn't flipping my skirt, and the teacher turned to me and said, "Do you want this too?" Someone else on the stairs tried to do the same thing and said she wasn't flipping her skirt, and she just kept going around saying this. And about that time, the principal, who must have heard everything, came around the corner with his paddle, which was a lot bigger and had notches in it from the paddlings that he had given in the past. And he said, "Is there something going on here? Do I need to settle something here?" And of course, we were all terrified. And the teacher said, "No, I've got it under control, but thank you very much for coming to see." So he stood there while she stood at the bottom of the stairs and the rest of us went up. And I had so many tears in my eyes as I was trying to get up those stairs. And when I got to the top of the stairs, I told the teacher who was asking what happened. I said, "This is what happened." And she said, "Well, you always must respect your teacher." And I just remember being shocked and also heartbroken because I realized that the only thing that mattered in that story was that we obeyed the teacher. It didn't matter if she was wrong. It didn't matter if we were misunderstood. The most important thing was our obedience. Now at this point, I'm just rattling stories. That triggered a memory from 3rd grade when a teacher had told us to put our papers in our desk, the kind that you lift up and put your papers in, and I fumbled my papers. So I was reaching down to get them, and all of a sudden I felt her hand on my head, and she grabbed my ponytail. And as she spoke, saying, "Put your paper in your desk," as I smile saying that, even though that's not how I feel, my head was going closer and closer and closer to that table as she jerked me down. And I was so shocked and terrified and couldn't find the words to say anything. And this was the first time I had ever even witnessed anything like this. And this isn't corporal punishment by any stretch of the imagination. This was flat out abuse. I didn't know it at the time. I certainly understood that even mistakes like what I had done by accidentally dropping my papers was still considered such an egregious offense that people in positions of authority have the right to abuse you. So there I shared those two stories with the people, and I hadn't really been paying attention until I looked in their faces. And their mouths were kind of open and their eyes were as big as silver dollars. Because I don't think people realize what exactly the school system was like and what people in positions of authority had the right to do. And that system is pervasive. It wasn't just in education. It was in your family. It was in your church. It was in your government. And of course, when you lose your voice and you lose your power, you become the victim. And in many ways, too numerous to tell here, I became the victim in many situations in my life. But being the victim is not what this story is about. That's not the perspective I'm trying to leave you with. You're the victim until it's your turn to be in power. Because when you look like me, with my skin tone, you're going to get a turn. And you don't want to give up that power. You not only feel like you earned it, you deserve it for everything that you went through. And you deserve it because of your proximity to those in power before you gives you the right to claim it now. Now, obviously, it's not all boomers, so settle down. It's not even all silent generation. But you can look across the landscape at those who are aging, and you can see primarily the aging white man and women in government, in the church. And you can see them desperately trying to hold on to power and lamenting that we need to return to the good old days when everybody knew their places. And you know exactly what they mean. They mean you know who's in authority and you do not question it, even when you know they are wrong. Now, that patriarchal system is not sustainable because younger generations are rejecting it. This system that legacies you into power simply by your proximity to those who have been in power. And in this country, your proximity to power is primarily based on the color of your skin or what you believe. So when we say that that system is dying, it is because generations are passing away. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because our system of democracy is built on a patriarchal system, that system too is not sustainable. In order for it to truly represent the diversity in this country, the system needs an overhaul. And that's why I say, stay awake, use your voice, and vote.